you have to sell yourself without selling yourself. That is probably the biggest skill nobody can teach you, but you must learn to do it. And for that, you must have something valuable to say. That's when you sell yourself without selling yourself. And valuable and useful to say. So it takes time. And the key point in all this is, I keep saying it takes time. But the most important thing is...
Today's episode ties into two things that we've spoken about in detail on this show. And these might be opposing thoughts or thoughts that don't immediately make sense, but give me a moment. Right? Remember on that episode where we spoke about calculators and entering your figures and goal setting, right? The overwhelming response was, quite literally, that it was overwhelming for most of you. And the simple thought was, this seems unattainable. How will we ever make these numbers given our current situation? So that's one thought about how once you put in numbers into that calculator, things look so overwhelming. The second thought is, if I can bring this in also on the real estate episodes, is where we spoke about how investing in real estate for rental incomes really doesn't seem to make sense, right? And even if you do, whether it's to live in or whatever, you must be very aware of how it affects your retirement corpus. And thirdly, and that's now when I'm going to reveal the topic of this episode, is an overarching idea on this show always, Pattu, has been how you need money to make money, right? And having said all these 3 points, today's topic is about secondary income, side incomes, and how it can be a really powerful tool in achieving what this show is all about. So, Pattu, where do we start to unpack this entire topic of secondary incomes and side incomes from?
Yeah, so I think there are 2 points that we should be very clear about. One is that when people are referring to secondary income, many of them want it immediately. That's my feeling. And they have a low income, the salary is low, their other means of income is low, and they want to supplement it in some way. And this supplementation should be done as soon as possible. So they do things like they bake, they take tuitions, or they sign up on Fivers for mini gigs and so on. That's all fine. That's absolutely fine. But that is an income that you're going to get immediately. And the quantum of income is not going to be too much, because it's, essentially eating up your time, and your time is only so much. Even if you're willing to do the work, you can only put in so much time. That is so. And what we would like to talk about is an income that, will supplement your retirement corpus.
Exactly.
And will essentially keep you active, in maintaining a website or any other thing that you're using to channel to, build that income, or you will be actually using that as a source to, consult or find a means of active income as well. And this is something that you have to build over time. It takes a lot of time to identify what you can do and several years to actually establish and so on. That is what I think we should focus on.
Sure. But don't you think somehow that even that immediate income is tied into our future? Because for the sake of argument, say if, the shortfall is 10,000, 15,000 rupees per month to attain that desired retirement corpus, then in a sense, it is also long term, right? If you think about it that way.
True. Yes, absolutely. Because once you start, let's say you sign up on Fiverr and you take up gigs on, editing plugins or, editing themes or something like that. Many jobs. The more you take up these many jobs, the more you become an expert on it. And so with time, you will be able to guide other people. So precisely what you're saying. So what I would like to talk about is this: when I say this income is going to supplement our retirement corpus, you should be seen as an expert in some area where people come to you, or they buy your products, or pay to read your articles, view your content, etc. So yes, it's tied in.
The vast majority of our audience, Pattu, is at the start of their investing journey, right? This is the first time perhaps in their life that they are in a full-time job. It's pretty much morning to evening. It's a dedicated job. And there's also a lot of controversy on moonlighting, Pattu. It's been in the news last few months. industry leaders talking about it very openly now. It's becoming a global HR issue as well. So there's so many different aspects to this which are quite interesting to talk about. But a person at the start of his career or her career, do you think it's too early to start thinking about this? And should they just put their heads down and focus on what they're doing? Or should the thoughts start right at the beginning?
It depends. See, for a person who is quite well educated, a couple of degrees, a UG and a PG and so on, there's not much more he or she can learn, except maybe some specialized courses. But if you think that you can learn something specialized because of some new fad or something, and that is going to help you in your primary job, get a promotion, or you can jump to another company saying I've got this kind of certification, etc., whatever it is, then I think that is the best way to focus thing on. So you can actually enhance your primary income. What I would like to talk about is somebody who's been in a job for 10-15 years. They kind of, they know that they're going to plateau in a few years, right? That happens to everybody. I mean, and they may not even like what they're doing. There are so many people who hate their jobs, but they know that they have to turn up for work. So is there some way they can meaningfully spend their time instead of, okay, saying I'm too tired, I'm going to, just watch something on OTT, just watch some sport. Instead of that, can you do something meaningful with your time that is actually creative? And that is, I think, the most important driving force, in my opinion, is once you're creative and helpful, that is the ideal combo. Money doesn't matter. I mean, it will come in eventually, but that is when you feel happy. What the Japanese would call ikigai, heading towards that ideal mix of being helpful, being contented, being wealthy, etc. So we can inch towards that only when I think we are creative and helpful.
Such a nice way to put it, Pattu. You have a way with these words. If you try to be creative and helpful at the same time, it leads to long-term good stuff. But yes, I think you've also hit on a raw nerve about, I think the vast majority at the end of a long, tiring day just like to sit down, put their feet up, watch something on Netflix, and they say, I'm doing everything I can. And it just, at the end of the day, doesn't seem to be enough, right? And it's that thought process, perhaps, that is the starting point of what this episode is all about. Of course, before the episode started, Pattu, I did a few quick Google searches, and I wanted to know what the common side incomes out there are, right? And of course, we're not talking about real estate. We're not talking about investments as such, but there's stuff like blogging and YouTube, social media influencing, online teaching, which I think interests me a lot. But if you were to marry these two worlds of, creating content that helps someone and using these online tools, do you think it all starts from first doing what you're passionate about and enjoying yourself first?
Absolutely. That is where many people get it wrong. If you look at these social media forums on passive income or personal finance, wherever, they say, I want to make money. I want to make money online. And I think that's a very, very poor idea. That's like putting the cart before the horse. You can't say making money is your goal. That never works. Of course, all these marketers, they'll say, I did this much, that much, and you can make this much money and so on. I think that's where the people think that it's easy to make it. And it's going to, most people don't appreciate that anybody who says that, I'm an expert in online income or passive income or marketing or whatever you want to call that, much of their journey has been accidental, I would say. And I think most of all, they themselves should appreciate it, that it has been accidental, including me. I mean, the popularity of Free FinCal, if I can call it that, it's just accidental. Nobody knows when you start out that it's going to be, worth doing or you're going to reach millions of people or not. You just do it because it appeals to you. And then you hope that it'll also appeal to other people. So yes, I think the first thing to look at is, do you really have a skill that others will find useful? That is something that we should first talk about. Of course, we shouldn't be bottled up by imposter syndrome and say no, I don't. But I think you should really sit down and ask yourself, what are my skills? And people are always learning skills all the time, and half the time they don't even know that they're learning it. And so, for example, I now know how to make a website fast, really fast. But I didn't go about saying I'm going to try and learn that. It's just that I had to learn it to stay afloat because of changes in the SEO world, etc. So there are always many skills that we're going to always learning, and we have to list the skills that we have, which of those skills we would like to pursue more, and which of those skills will actually be of use to some people. So that's how it starts.
It's you've hit upon a very interesting thing, Pattu, because I think it's how you start off, right? Where you start off to be creative and helpful, or do you start off explicitly to make money and bolster your income or bolster your investment capabilities? Because I know for a fact, and this is slightly controversial, but you see a lot of these ads on YouTube or on social media about how join my masterclass on 1,000 different topics. And I've been noticing this. It's a trend for the last 2 or 3 years. Ever since the pandemic, it's been a spurt of these masterclasses, right? Now, some people are making a killing doing that. And I've known a lot of personal stories of people who've actually paid that seemingly small amount of money, and in some cases, large amount of money, and being thoroughly disappointed by the actual content they go through. And so perhaps they're putting a bad name to something that could be a very powerful tool. Because, by all means, teach and help people. But I think if the starting point is accidental and you started off because, you had something to give and had something to help others with, then I think it results in something useful.
My thumb rule here is, if you have to advertise to make money, I think you are in trouble. Yeah. And I think you just want to get rich fast and you're doing it wrong. I think you have to build a community. That is the secret sauce of online income, or the driving tool behind creator economy, or whatever you want to call it. So that building the trust is going to take years, and because of two reasons. One, it's becoming more and more difficult to be visible, right? And two, you yourself may not really be an expert. You may be interested in something, but you may not have the necessary expertise to actually help other people. Helping other people is not the same as writing an article about it or something like that. So it takes time, but you have to build that trust over time. And I believe that you are not ready to launch a product or even make affiliate income or push a tool until somebody tells you that you are actually good and you should be making money of it. That, I think, is the turning. When more and more people start telling you that your content is so good that you should not be putting this out for free, that is when you know that you've gone to the next level, that you're kind of ready to start monetizing things. People are always in a hurry to monetize. And this journey, nobody knows how long this will take. You can't guarantee 6 months, 1 year. We don't know. And the problem is, just like most people don't complete those online courses you mentioned. They pay money, but most of them don't complete. And in many cases, those online courses are actually, they're used to push other courses. They will say 2,000 and they'll strike it and say 199. When
but actually the real benefit is if you take that next course.
So they're pushing from silver level to gold to platinum kind of thing. That's just really shady. And it just irritates a lot of people. Yeah, maybe you make money out of it, but you're also gonna, it's not a good thing to, compartmentalize your skill like that and say, I'm going to just give you that much and so on. So, I just got lost in that. So it's going to take time to build value, which I think the way you build trust and value is by offering your expertise for free. Many people find this extremely counterintuitive. And I've been talking to financial advisors. And if you look at the articles these financial advisors typically write, most of them are completely wrong. I mean, I'm now talking about financial advisors as an entrepreneur. We are not talking about the money management aspect of it. Forget their expertise. I'm talking about them as entrepreneurs where they have to build in a steady stream of clients. The people who are successful are the people who help other investors, individuals, without saying, oh, if you want help, contact me. They just go all out and help. The more they do that, the more you will see other people come to them and say, help me with my finance, I'll pay whatever you want. People should say,
it's
that's
amazing.
what they should.
Yeah.
It's extremely counterintuitive, but it works like a charm. It will take time. I mean, nothing's going to happen, but you immediately. So you have to go out there and offer your expertise and say, I will help you do this for free. The moment you do it, it builds enormous, what you would call social proof.
Goodwill,
Goodwill, absolutely. And people would say, okay, this guy is not after my money. He knows his stuff. Then things start snowballing.
Even on my personal story, Pattu, in my personal journey, I think I've experienced it as well. There was a phase in my career when I felt so competitive that I had to compete with all, the competing people in my industry. And then a stage came when I think it comes with a lot of self-confidence as well, when you just go out there and help people, your competitors, etc. And it just leads to so many positive things that, I'd encourage everyone to, by sharing information, you are not limiting your growth, you're only enhancing your growth. And I think that's a mind shift that comes with age, unfortunately, and the sooner you can learn it, the better. So I guess my next question, Pattu, is we've very well established what the starting point should be. But is there a process that we should try and unpack? What is the process of identifying what I'm good at? What is the process of identifying what I love? Let's take me as a guinea pig. What would you suggest I do next to try and think of secondary income?
This identification is a very, very personal thing. I mean, there are two things I've noticed in my life. One is I had a wonderful teacher in my 11th and 12th standard called Mrs. Beena Gokhale. And she she can be a terror if she wants to, but she would unravel stories in such a way that you would start wondering, you would just become a character in that story and start, thinking about it so deeply. And it's not just a lesson that you're studying for marks, right? And that's when I knew that I'm going to teach. I'm going to be a teacher in my life. I just knew it. I have never thought before. Of course, obviously, I was 11th standard, 12th standard kid. I've never stood on a stage or never even stood in front of my class doing, extempore, this and that. And so I've never done that until my MSc. MSc was my first time I actually stood before a stage, because I was not a great student in school. I actually flunked a lot of subjects and so on.
No way, really?
Absolutely. I flunked 5 subjects at one time, twice or thrice. So I was the guy who mothers used to say, okay, don't go, mingle with him. So
we must do a separate episode on your past, Pattu, on your early days. But anyway, I digress. Keep going. How was that first experience on stage?
So that was different. No, what I mean is I was not teaching then, but what I'm trying to say is I knew before I had any experience that I'm going to teach. That's what will make me happy. So it just hit me because it's the way the content was presented, the lesson was presented to me. The other thing I use as a thumb rule is, suppose you have some great difficulty in your life, right? Some big worry, something which you have no control over, but it's there and it's troubling you, and it's going to take some time to resolve. Everybody goes through things like that in their life. What activity would help you forget those troubles when you do it? That's what I ask myself. Sometimes for me, it was, working on an Excel sheet. There's something called LabVIEW, where you automate machines. I love doing that. When I did that, I would forget all my troubles. The same thing happened with Excel. I started with LabVIEW for work. And then when I went into spreadsheets, as long as I was doing something on the VBA, something on the Excel, I could forget all my troubles. Of course, it will come back to me when I finish. But during that time, so I knew that's something that I love
I'm getting some
Don't.
answers myself now that you're putting me on this thought process.
So that's something. So you need, so one, you need some trigger. That trigger, I don't know. It could be a movie. It could be something some relative says, some teacher says, or it could even be some insult. Now, I mean, so I think there was one thing happened in Free FinCal. Someone said that XYZ is an expert on debt mutual funds. I viewed it as an insult. It was not directed to me, but I viewed it as an insult, saying, why don't I know anything about debt mutual funds? So I started digging more and more and more and more. So it's these are triggers. You can't control these triggers, but you just need to watch out for them. And uh, the other thing is, yeah, this is what I said, like a thumb rule. Use when you are unhappy, when you are having some cloud over your life, what makes you forget it momentarily. So that's how you can identify things that will make you truly happy. Forget the money. Money will come. I mean, the money is the very, just like we say, process first, products last. When in money management, we don't talk about which fund to buy, which stock to buy. That's the very, very last step of the planning, right? Similarly, money should be the very last step of this side income or whatever you want to call it, generation. You should find happiness in what you do. If something doesn't make you happy, then it'll just be another work, maybe just like the work that you're doing outside of office, and that's not fun.
I have to share the thoughts that came to my mind, Pattu, as you talk me through that. One is I completely forget about the world when I step onto the green grass and play football, right? And it's been my entire life. From when I was a kid, I cannot describe the feeling of that first few steps on that grass and doing something I absolutely love. Of course, my competitive playing days are over. How do I then perhaps maybe coach some kids? These are the thoughts that are starting. How does that become long-term income? I don't know, right? But it doesn't need to be, as Pattu says. That's the joy of it all. I love talking to people. Perhaps that's why we're doing this. And yeah, so I think it's that thought process, the personal journey that is so important. And not only, as you said, Pattu, in the lead up to this episode, it's not only important that it helps with your retirement corpus, but it keeps you active in your retirement, which perhaps is even more valuable than an actual corpus. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, so that's where the professionals, they're kind of take it for granted. Professionals like CAs, doctors, they say, I'll work for life.
They're lucky.
I mean, yeah, that is fine as long as you're also investing right and you have enough corpus just in case you're not able to work because of illness and so on. That is absolutely fine, but they take that for granted that they can work for life. And I know many CAs who are in their lawyers who are in their 80s or pushing 90. They still work. They still come to office regularly, see clients because they have the name, they have the brand, and people come to them just like that. So that is what the salaried guys don't have because they're working for somebody else. Once the retirement party is given and they're sent home in the office cab or whatever, that's it. There for many people the interaction with the outside world stops. In fact, it happened to my father, and I made a mistake. My father asked me, should I work after retirement? But I thought that because he did not have a degree, he did not have a college degree. So I thought, look, what kind of a big job is he going to get? He may be insulted and people may, I don't want my father to be in that kind of a position. But I probably made a mistake because it could have kept him engaged in some way. But I'm saying, okay, you've been salaried all your life. That's absolutely fine. But can you now become a professional, become an entrepreneur after you retire? But slowly build the community for that. When you are in work, you don't need to make any money out of it. Just do it as a hobby. Just do it because you're passionate about it. Become an expert. Understand what the community wants. This is the most important thing. You cannot push a product or a service unless you're solving a problem. And that problem should be as unique as possible. If it's not unique, there are thousands of other people people can go to. There should be a problem that only you can solve. So these are things. It can take decades to build all this. Don't make any money out of this when you're employed. And after you retire, you can You can even retire early if you're lucky, and after 50 or so you still have 10, 15 good years of very active work, enhancing this thing that you've built. So
I think it's a lovely journey to start, and I hope this episode has spurred you all on to some kind of thoughts. Uh, if you all can share those thoughts and let Pattu and me unpack them and try and analyze them. I guess the intention of this episode, Pattu, is that the bottom of the triangle is try and get as many people thinking about secondary income in the first place, and what they can do. And then as you start reaching the top of that triangle, it is what you're passionate at, what you can be creative with and help other people. These are the kind of 10 poles that Pattu recommends. But yes, it's a journey that I think everyone should do. You know, it's all about finding the drive at the end of a busy, tired day if you're a salaried employee. But yes, do please share your stories on what you're thinking about secondary income. If you need any help from Pattu to kind of unpack that and analyze that. One final question, I had noted it down before we end, Pattu. What do you think about building IP, right? Something, perhaps writing a book, that can continue to earn for you and your family, but perhaps is it for everyone?
see, search engines and social media engines, they are promoting expertise, right? So I think we should build your skills and your community so that you are viewed as an expert in a particular area, and that's where the branding comes. So if you type my name in Google, M Pattabhiraman, you can see the knowledge panel on the side. You can see the articles that I write. Some of them has been engineered. We can probably talk about that in a separate. There are ways to engineer it and get Google to notice it. So one of the best ways to get branded as an expert is to write a book. But it has got today, writing a book has got absolutely no money. It's basically nothing. You get nothing from it. Because your overheads, everything will cancel off whatever book you are going to sell. But it will, if you promote it on the right channels and put your books in the right places, you will be viewed as an expert in an area. And that is what builds your community, and people will come to you. People should be curious to know what does this guy has to say. So it all helps. But like I said, the moment you take money out of the picture and you say, I'm going to build my personal brand, that should be the aim here. And people do it in so many wrong ways. And people say, I am your financial coach, or I am your whatever cohort leader. That's a word I hate. Cohort. That's come out so often these days. I'm going to start a new cohort. And they do it. It has to be done. You have to sell yourself without selling yourself. That is probably the biggest skill. Nobody can teach you, but you must learn to do it. And for that, you must have something valuable to say. That's when you sell yourself without selling yourself. And valuable and useful to say. So it takes time. And the key point in all this is, I keep saying it takes time, but the most important thing is consistency. Can you come up with a tweet, a deck of tweets, a video, an article once a month? Once a month, that's all. You can build. There are 4 weeks in a month. You can do the research for 3 weeks and just create it in one weekend, and that's it. Can you do it month after month after month for 10 years? If you do it for 5, you're already almost there. For the next 5, you'll probably compound your community growth. So it takes that discipline. It's like building wealth. You have to invest. Like this, you have to work on your passion, build on it. So it's not easy to do.
Amazing. Like all investing is, nothing is immediate. It's a slow journey. A goldmine of an episode, Pattu. Thank you so much, especially for me personally, and starting me off on my thought processes. For everybody else who's benefited, please write in and share your secondary income ideas and your thought process after this episode. Till we see you again next week, please like, share, subscribe, spread the word. Please share this show with everybody else. And perhaps we have some exciting news coming up to announce on where this show is going. But we will when the time is right. Until we see you next week. Pattu, thanks a ton. Have a good week.
Take care. Bye bye.